I was saying, engineer at Yup, and we build a consumer product for helping people to shape the future of AI.
Cool. I'm Raf. I'm a co-founder at Kernel. We're crazy fast browser infrastructure for your AI agent. Previously, I was co-founder of a company, Clever, which is an education company doing identity. So very familiar with bots and identity.
That's great. As you can see, we're here to talk about BotID. It's a Vercel product that is helping you identify bots and humans on the web. And we have both a kind user of BotID as well as potentially a friendly or potentially an opposition of BotID, depending on how you ask. So first question for Minchi is, how do you balance preventing scraping and credit abuse with allowing legitimate automation by real users?
So to give a little bit of context on what we do on Yup, so for consumers, it's a platform where you can come and use any of the AI models that's been available to the world. At this point, we have 800 models on the platform, and completely free of charge. So the users come in, they submit their prompts, they get 2 responses. We show them 2 because sometimes you want multiple perspectives, sometimes the models hallucinate, or they're just out of date. And you don't have to pay anything, but instead, what we do is we ask the user to give us feedback data on which one performs better, which one do you like more. And of course, being a free service, to be able to use this sometimes $100 subscription per month, kind of GPT-5 Pros of the world, we have a lot of abuse vectors, right? People want to just come on the platform, they maybe want to hook it up to an API endpoint, so you don't have to pay our cursor subscription. And that's why we integrate with BotID. The day it was launched, we integrate with the service. And I think on this particular use case, the problem statement that we have is, how do we get high quality human evaluation data? Because at the end of the day, what we want to collect is high quality human feedback on how the models do better and provide them as a post-training data from the model builders of the world so they can improve the models that they're building. I know there's like explorations on synthetic data, on like how AIs might be able to perform this kind of task. But I think at this current stage, we don't really trust the taste of AI agents, right? So if you come to a platform, all you want to do is submit prompts, get free feedback. The response that you pick, if it's not done by a human, it's not what we would value. And ultimately, that's the reason we do not allow automated use on the platform today for the purpose of submitting prompts and picking responses.
Makes sense. We want some high quality data at the end of it.
Yeah.
I guess similar question to you, Roth, is what do you think about automating user journeys that end up hitting a CAPTCHA or something like BotID? And what's your take on how we can work together on this?
Yeah, I definitely think we're kind of at a crossroads, kind of in the internet writ large, where we've built up all of these systems to distinguish bot versus human. And now we have a new class of bot that is working on behalf of a human and maybe is doing something that looks very different from your typical bot. And so, yeah, what we think about on this front is, what are ways we can craft pathways for those agents so that end websites can distinguish kind of good versus bad. Because I think right now, all of the infrastructure in place, whether it's BotID or other things, it's human versus bot. And so we really are in need of something that can go a little bit deeper than that. And then from the target website, their perspective, once you do let in agents, what do you want them to be able to do? Do you want to be able to monitor them or understand how your users are using agents on your website? There's I think another whole aspect of, once the agents are let loose, helping websites understand this kind of new user type.
I guess related to that is, how do you view identity on the web?
Yeah, so I think there's a question of whether bots carry their own identity, whether they carry the human's identity. I think in the future, I would definitely think the agent has its own identity, whether it's like it has its own email address, it can like answer two-factor challenges. We're not there yet, but I think for now, humans delegating to agents their identity is what most people we see on our platform doing. And so that's where we focus on things like making sure they're really good, like human in the loop style. Like our browsers, for example, are extremely fast on a live view. So if you need a human in the loop to perform a login flow and answer security questions and do things initially, you can do that. So yeah, I think right now we're tacking on to human identity, but I hope in the future we can understand or create something that's like an agent's identity that's unique.
For sure. We have a lot of things to talk about for agent identity, but Minchi, what are your thoughts on letting the web handle legitimate agents acting on behalf of humans while keeping out the abusive bots?
Yeah, so kind of related to what you were saying earlier, I think biggest challenge today is how do we differentiate a good intended bot or automation agents from someone who's rogue and just trying to pretend and script data in a irresponsible way. Taking Yup again as an example, maybe we don't want automated agents to be submitting prompts on the platform, but we do have a leaderboard. You can use filters to slice and dice the data, and those are the part of the product that we are actually very open to having third party come in and access the platform. I think the challenge is how do you identify like encouraging good bots identifying themselves. For example, we have in the BotID world, if you are verified crawler, Vercel has this repository which verifies bots and say, hey, this is an actual Google index crawler versus maybe this is somebody who looks like a LinkedIn crawler, but it's actually maybe a third-party app. So I think that could be an interesting avenue, but the enforcement probably is the challenge.
Yeah, great call out, Minchi. We do have a verified bot registry that we work with a lot of providers for, bots.fyi in your web browser. And so we actually surface that data within BotID. And I'm sure Minchi has whitelisted a couple of these verified bots that are actually good for surfacing Yup to the more general audience. And actually, Rob, I'm curious on what your take is on the standard of WebBot auth and how we could use it to verify some of your users.
Yeah, so I think standards like WebBot auth are good first steps. I think right now they handle the question of like who is this bot? Is it the OpenAI like scraping bot trying to collect training data? And then you can create kind of these lists of like what things you are comfortable, what bots you're comfortable with, what bots you're not. I think what is missing is kind of the human authorization piece, because a bot could be good one day, but bad the next, or a bot could be working on behalf of an actual user of your website, and like you would want to let that through. And so right now we don't have that standard, and I think I hope that we can work together kind of as an industry to come around to something there. I think it could come from a standard. It could come from companies that sit at the authorization layer, helping their customers like bring agents onto their sites. Yeah, so I think there's a few ways I think it could pan out, but right now WebBot auth is purely who are you, not like what do you want to do and like what human directed you to do that.
For sure. Yeah, we work with WebBot. We work with the likes of Akamai, Cloudflare, and some other big cloud providers to make WebBot auth. And so, yeah, we would love to see how more people could adopt it. But speaking of some of the other providers in this space, some of them have started to do this thing called like paper crawl or like toll booths. And I'm curious on both of your opinions on letting unverified or bad bots crawl your site or enable the crawling of the site in exchange for payments on either side. Do you think it'll take off? Do you think it's right? Would you adopt it? And what do you think of this as the future pattern of scraping and bot protection overall? Let's start with Minchi.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting idea. On one hand, really we want to allow users to get fairly compensated, right, for the content that you write. Before it's just the open web where anybody can publish content. You're not necessarily rewarded monetarily, but maybe you can run ads, maybe you can do a subscription for some of the incentive models. In the AI world, training data, it's kind of controversial how they're being used right now, or how they are even possibly attributed back to the source data. So I think it's great to see paper scrape and similar concepts. But on the flip side, it depends on the companies that's trying to facilitate this, right? Some of the proposals that have come out, it relies on individual companies to be the kind of, not the gatekeeper, but like a centralized point which controls how the transactions are facilitated. That it makes it easy to implement, but also could be counterintuitive to an open and democratic kind of access to this data. So I think it depends on how these financial incentives are structured and the money actually flows. So pros and cons.
Makes sense. Rob?
Yeah, I definitely think there's this tension between kind of the centralization at some toll booth, whether it's like Vercel or Cloudflare sitting in the middle, kind of with a list of like bots that are good versus bad, versus figuring out some kind of decentralized way of doing it. And it's very challenging to get everyone to do something in a decentralized form. And so that's why you see things, people sitting in the middle, like occupy a very useful space for people that want to do things like pay per scrape. I think what might be interesting in the future is instead of, I think pay per scrape makes a lot of sense in the world of content websites, where, yeah, you don't want your content to just get, read by the OpenAI scraper without getting paid for it. I think when I think about like agents, what they do, it's not quite similar or like to that. It's more about like they're trying to complete some task, achieve some outcome for a user. Is there some way that you could like think about pay per scrape, but like pay per outcome, or like hey LinkedIn, like let my post automation agent like use LinkedIn.com and I'll pay like per post it makes or whatever, something like that, like some incentive to let in agents and also control for abuse, and that like you're going to pay for every action you take. And I think that could be an interesting direction for BotID and agent authorization, but I haven't heard anyone working on that.
It's an interesting thought, and we'll see more developments as it comes through. As an FYI, any of you can ask questions to our panelists in a little bit. We have a few more pre-seeded questions, but then we would love to open it up to anything about security, scraping, bot, or even automation on the web. So I guess for Minchi, I'm curious on what you think is the right authorization. If you think that kernel could give you a user token or a user ID that corresponds to someone in your index, would you think that that is good enough for allowing that person to automate their usage of Yup and get more credits?
Yeah, I think so. Fundamentally, it's how do you verify the kind of the user consent, right? The user is asking some agents to perform a task, and one is how do you associate that task with what the user's intent was versus what the agent kind of decided to do and so on. And on the other side, how does a website declare that, hey, we welcome actions to be performed on this portion of the platform, but maybe not the others? I think it's challenging, like looking back decades ago, you have robots.txt, but that's purely on the executor side to respect them. For example, if I post a link on Twitter and it gets a link preview, Twitter actually respects those bot.txt and does not show you a preview if you block all the access. But if you are, say, share message in iMessage, Apple then treats it as a user consent because I'm trying to share a link with a friend. I could have gone take a screenshot myself, so it posts as some other user agents and then get the screenshot that way. So I think ultimately it's a matter of, is there a facilitation we can verifiably prove the user has authorized this action, and it comes from a human versus automated agents.
Yeah, I kind of think, even if you take agents out of the picture, humans can be abusive to websites today without any agent in the loop. And so in some sense, even once you add agents and let them use the internet on behalf of a human, you still have the possibility that the human is a bad actor and they're kind of like mobilizing the agent in a bad way. So I think I could see one world where kind of the rise of agents really puts the pressure on tooling for site operators to understand individual user behavior, whether it's on behalf of an agent or just on their own, and weeding out bad versus good. It boils back down to like know your KYC instead of know your KYA. It's like you need to know who these users are, what they're doing on your site, and kick out the bad ones.
For sure. One of the, maybe a slightly more controversial topic is rough. When a user does use kernel, and they do get blocked by something like turnstile, reCAPTCHA, HCAPTCHA, or even BotID, how do you tell them to get around, or what's your recommendation when they are trying to automate something and they get stopped by some blocker?
Yeah, so for us, we like to think all of our customers are the good bots, and we try and make that true ourselves. But obviously, the websites have no way of understanding that, and that's the unfortunate kind of state of the world. So we do things like CAPTCHA solving, proxy networks, browser fingerprint optimization, things like that help our customers succeed in building their agents. But we'd love to not do that. Like I think that's a cat and mouse game that will persist forever unless we carve out a pathway for agents to not get blocked and prove that they're good actors. So yeah, it's a not great state of affairs, but hopefully it gets better.
Are you working with any of these bot protection companies to officiate yourself as a provider?
Yeah, we're beginning to explore that pathway where there are companies like Casada that are popular for putting bot detection onto your site. I think from their perspective, they're hearing from their customers that we want to start to think about agentic use of our sites. There's bots that are now good. How can you help us do that? And I think that's kind of the path that might exist where some big player in that space that sits on a bunch of huge web properties doing bot detection, if they start to be more forward thinking about agents and come up with some solution, then suddenly we have a critical mass of websites and maybe the beginnings of some protocol that everyone can use. So I'm hopeful that we can have that happen through these conversations, but I think we're still a ways away.
And just one example that reminds me of is, I'm sure many of the people in the audience know, you try to catch like crashes on a website, you can try to get like user analytics on the platform, but just historically, like analytics are kind of a touchy, privacy invading aspect, and really it's the bad actors that kind of brought down the level of the entire playing field, right? Everybody's now blocking these tracking scripts, no matter how privacy conserving they are. So when a crash happens, you don't even know about it. So I wish there's a world where we can kind of handle bot protection in a similar way, where the good actors can benefit.
Amazing. I see an audience question. If we have a mic runner, thanks, right here. We have a few more questions after this, but we'd love to hear some audience participation too.
I know that Google has a protocol for agents and micropayments. Coinbase is very involved in that. Coinbase with their blockchain base for micropayments. So agents could be identified not with an email address, but with a wallet address, and then they could be programmed to try to identify themselves, their goals, what they want to do, and the transactions can be like, that's what they were concerned with for, so it's like the best buzzword use case. So maybe, I guess the question would be like, have you into like I think it's Google agent to agent protocol, something like that.
Yeah.
What companies?
Yeah, so I think the question's around like, are there these emerging protocols for payment that kind of might also serve for like identity?
This crypto is what
Yeah.
agents offering they all how do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we talk about like what you want to allow agents to do on sites, and obviously like transacting is like the highest value, literally like use case. And so yeah, there are a couple protocols I've seen. There's X402 from Coinbase, which Vercel I think has an integration with on the MCP side. I think it's all like, I hope these things take off, but it's this big chicken and egg problem of, I think you still, despite it being like a decentralized protocol, you still need most of the time, you need some person in the middle, like speaking that protocol for you, because otherwise it's a huge lift to do it yourself. And so, yeah, I think it'll be tricky. I think Visa came out with like a agentic thing, e-commerce protocol a couple weeks ago. Stripe has one. Like, there are all these ways that people want to figure out how agents pay each other. And obviously, like, a fundamental piece of paying is identifying who the agent is, or, and so it comes with a solution for identity. But yeah, I haven't seen anything on that front that gives me hope that one of those is going to take off and become like the standard.
Yeah, it's always up to
Yeah, I see a lot of new emerging standards come out, including X402, as you mentioned, Agent Commerce Protocol by Stripe. Visa has one too. So I guess we'll see eventually as the market moves on which one is the best for bots and for agents to be transacting. I want to go back to an earlier point, Minchi, if there's no other audience questions right now, which is before you adopted BotID, I know that you were trying out some other bot blocking services out there. I'd love for you to tell us about what they were and how they really compared to BotID.
Yeah, so since getting high quality human eval data is important to us, we started looking from day one. Most of the common players you see, Cloudflare offers a free service, Turnstile, you don't have to pay anything. Google has the reCAPTCHAs, free and paid tiers are available. The challenge is two sides. One, we are building for a consumer product, right? All of this poses a bit of a friction point, especially if maybe your quote-unquote IP score is not good enough. You get hit with clicking on traffic lights every time you put a prompt in. Who wants to do that? And also, it's a bit of a cognitive load because you are kind of locked in the flow, trying to do the next thing, and then you got hijacked by a pop-up. So that's one challenge. And two, we do see in the wild just paid solvers as a service. There are Discord communities that I like to go in and take a look at and see what folks are trying to get out of our platform. And there are folks who are selling, for $5, $10, a solver script, sometimes even customized for our product. So I think it's difficult to find a dedicated solution that works, that strikes the best balance between user friction and trustworthiness. And yeah, I think BotID gives us a pretty good solution right now. It's completely invisible to the user, and I think that's a main pain point that we were able to solve.
Completely get that. Because, Vercel was in a similar state before we built BotID. We had a free model playground. Anyone could go to it and use the latest models. And we were getting a lot of abuse, similar to you. And we did try a lot of the industry standard ways of capture services or Turnstile. But if you actually go online and you search up like HCAPTCHA solver, you'll actually see people able to solve reCAPTCHA for just like a few pennies more than what the developer paid for it. And so we partnered with this company called Casada. They're a world-class cybersecurity company. Their challenges are unsolvable in a cheap and fast way. And so we use them for the whole year to protect our own AI playground before we thought that there was such a good partner that we would build BotID together. And so if you use BotID, you're actually using Casada and all of the advanced cybersecurity benefits that they've spent years developing.
So one point that you mentioned earlier, and I 100% agree with what Ralphie said, the tools themselves are not the one to blame, right? sometimes we do get actors on the platform who are doing, sort of like automated liking behavior that's not necessarily a bot or an agent. So at the end of the day, the platform, so like for us, we're not just relying on, hey, is this a bot? If it's a bot, let's block them. If it's a human, let them through. We also rely on like behavior data, like what are the things you're doing on the platform? How do we incentivize the users? So in that scenario, bot detection is one piece of the puzzle, but it's not really bot bad, human good. And we do have to build a lot of like, are the evals from this person making sense instead of, is this kernel, is this other automation platforms?
We have 2 questions. Let's do you first. To the left. Get to you in a quick sec.
Well, we're getting absolutely destroyed by bots. We run huge B2B marketplaces with tens of millions of products, and we've always been scraped, but it's been absolutely crazy for the last 6 months. I mean, full-time job by multiple people on multiple consoles doing this. A lot we're coming from things like maybe not stuff like that. They solve everything. It's a very interesting situation. I'm trying to figure out how you guys have any advice around that. It's incredible how expensive it is on the infrastructure side of things, as well as the human side of things. And they're coming. The interesting thing is they're coming from Comcast bots. A lot of these people have internal sort of things. Firecrawl offers that. You can crawl within homes and things like that. So it's a tough situation, and I wonder how you guys see it for people like us. Where we have profit lines and things like that, and employees.
Have you tried like BotID or any of these? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, we should talk after. I think BotID would actually be very fitting for you, especially at your scale. But let's talk after. We had a question over here. We had 2 questions over here.
Hey, I also work at but I have a question for Ralph. Ralph, might be more of a philosophical question. But do you think there is, like, in the future, a world where some parts of the web might be like human only, or is that a good thing? Would that be a bad thing? But like what you were saying, I think we get half of our product on humans because only a human, the economics only make sense for us and other parts that could be agents.
Yeah, I think the way I think about it is, we've kind of started, for a long time we've had the non-human internet in the form of like APIs, and that has always been a very small subset of the internet. I think now you're starting to see with AI people thinking like more of the internet needs to be accessible to non-humans, and so you see like MCP servers are taking off, and but I still think that that's not going to consume the entire space that is the internet. I think there might be other creative solutions there as well, where an MCP server is a big lift to ask any like non forward-thinking website to create. But if a provider came and gave the website a really easy way to create a version of that website that agents can use in a sanctioned way, that could be an interesting pathway to carve out or like create a new internet that is specifically for agents.
Actually, I just had the thought that like this is quite common in games. Like games are intended to be human because humans don't want bots running games, and so maybe it's been solved there. You can imagine maybe a social network or something that doesn't want all the automated posts.
Yeah, I think it's a great point because right now the internet is very good at bot versus not bot. So let's just create another internet that's just for the agents, and then we don't have to worry about like fixing the current state of the internet. But
you heard it here first. The internet theory is alive. That's all we have time for today. Please give a round of applause for your panelists.